Welcome to episode 2, season 2 of the Soulful Menopause podcast. In today's episode, we're talking about anxiety and how to overcome it. You're going to hear from women about their experiences. You will also receive some easy techniques you can incorporate into your day without the need to actually create time to do them. Plus, I have a free Letting Go of Anxiety audio recording just for you. Welcome to the Soulful Menopause podcast. Discover how to transform the chaos of menopause into vibrant health and a soulful life you'll love. I'm Sally Love, natural nutritionist and soul wisdom coach. I want you to experience a soulful menopause that'll guide you into the best years of your life. Okay, so anxiety. Now, this is such a major issue that a lot of us have to deal with during menopause. And there are varying degrees of how anxiety can affect us, from feeling a little bit more worried than normal, all the way through to having full-blown panic attacks and being unable to function properly. Now, anxiety affects a lot of women, and it can have quite a significant effect on every aspect of their lives. How they show up in work, how women show up in their relationships, how women feel about themselves, how they interact with their families. And anxiety can really govern what women do, and actually, more importantly, what women don't do in their lives, where they allow fear to prevent them from enjoying their lives to the full. And the trouble is, there's a lot of women who don't even know that anxiety is actually a symptom of menopause. For me, it was as if I was turning into someone else. Up until menopause, I was really relaxed. I was a really chilled out, laid back person. However, I must say that in my early 20s, I was in a violent relationship, and I did suffer from panic attacks for a while after that. But I did learn how to deal with them, and then eventually they completely disappeared. So I didn't have panic attacks for many, many years. And from then on, I wouldn't worry about anything much at all. I very rarely got stressed, and I would easily face challenges and very easily step out of my comfort zone without questioning myself, without doubting myself. I even moved to Italy by myself on a whim, not knowing anyone there, never been there before, didn't know the language. I had no problem with that whatsoever. And I just saw it as this amazing adventure. But then perimenopause hit. And it was a sort of a gradual drip feed process for me, where I started to become more and more worried and anxious. And eventually the panic attacks started returning. And I noticed that I was starting to worry about things that would never have bothered me before. I started conjuring up scenarios of things that could go wrong in my life. And particularly when I felt that my body was falling apart, I was having all of these different health issues because of menopause. It was at that point in time that my anxiety actually became a lot worse. I worried about my health issues because I actually felt out of control of my own body. I was no longer that relaxed, bubbly, chilled out, happy person. In fact, I felt mega stressed and exhausted a lot of the time. And the other thing was, oh my word, I felt like I was becoming a hypochondriac. And I remember once I went to the ER with terrible stomach pains. And one of the nurses told me at the time, she said that I was having an anxiety attack, but the way she said it felt really dismissive to me, and it made me feel very ashamed. I felt as if I was being neurotic and that I should just pull myself together. I remember feeling that intense emotion of shame around it. In fact, it turned out that I had a stomach ulcer, but that experience really led me on this path of questioning myself in a negative way. You know, I really started doubting myself more. I started being hard on myself. I was thinking things like, well, I used to think that, oh, Sally, you used to be stronger, you used to be healthier and more vibrant. Why can't you be like that now? And for Christ's sake, Sally, I'm a holistic nutritionist and I know a significant amount about healing. So why isn't everything I'm doing making any difference? Why can't I get my body back into vibrant health? So when I was thinking these questions, it created a lot of anxiety, a lot of tension in my body. And I felt like I was weak. I felt like I was a failure for not being in really good health. And I just questioned myself so much that I didn't know who I was becoming. And I remember a time, for a period of time actually, where I was writing in my journal that I felt like, and I remember these words exactly, I would write down, I feel like a big, fat, useless blob. And I wrote that over and over again in my journal because that's exactly how I was feeling. And so that brought up a lot of anxiety. And, you know, I was dealing with that anxiety around my health and my returning panic attacks. And these were just getting worse the further into menopause I got. And so the more anxious I felt, the more my symptoms got worse. And it's, you know, it's that vicious cycle that you can get caught up in. And the thing was, at the time, I didn't know that I was in perimenopause. I hadn't prepared for menopause at all. I hadn't even really thought about it, to be honest. You know, it was a subject that wasn't even talked about at the time. And it wasn't until later on that I started making sense of it all. After loads of research and everything, you know, I eventually found ways to move through it. And then a few years later, whatever, soulful menopause was born. So I'm taking this experience that I had, and I felt this very strong pulling to start soulful menopause from that. So when I was planning to do this episode, I asked women to share how anxiety has affected them. I want you to hear their stories because we can all experience anxiety differently. I want you to hear from women who are going through it now or have recently gone through it, and you may well relate to what they have to say. You need to know that you're not alone in this. You need to know that anxiety is a symptom of menopause and you can do something about it. Yes, you can. You can gain a sense of control over your body and your anxiety. So after sharing these stories with you, I'm going to cover a short explanation of why we get anxiety during menopause. And then I've got a few really easy and powerful techniques you can do to bring some calm to your body and mind. Yes. Plus, I have created a free audio recording for you. It's called Letting Go of Anxiety. And this audio recording is taking you through a guided relaxation process that you can download onto your phone, so you can have it anytime you're feeling anxious and anytime that you desperately need some peace and calm. So all you need to do to get that free audio recording, Letting Go of Anxiety, just go to the show notes and there is a link there for you where you can download it for free. Okay, so let's begin with a note I received from a woman who wrote this. She said, "My anxiety is ruining my life. I'm 56. I've gone to a gynecologist. She put me on estrogen and progesterone. I had a horrible reaction to the ingredients it's made with. I've been to the ER 3 times in the last 2 months with anxiety, thinking I was having a heart attack. I am losing my mind and I can't find a doctor to figure me out. I'm lost." Oh, wow. You know, I really feel for you so much. And thank you for sharing this, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of women that can relate to what you've just said. And for me, you know, I certainly felt like I was having a heart attack too. I've had that happen to me. Plus, actually, you're going to be hearing from a woman in a minute called Monique. I had a chat with her, so you're going to hear the audio of the two of us talking about anxiety and how it affected her. And you'll hear Monique saying that she's been to the ER for exactly the same thing as you. Now, heart palpitations and anxiety are some really scary symptoms of menopause. Please don't overlook them if they happen. It's always, always best to go to the ER. And it's better to be safe than sorry. And I would recommend that you find a naturopathic doctor or a doctor who can help you with finding a bioidentical hormone replacement therapy that works for you, personally for you, because everyone is different. Also, please do try some of the techniques I'm going to be sharing with you here. And please do let me know how you get on. I'm sending you lots of love. Okay, so someone else wrote, "Menopause has brought unexpected challenges into my life, and the anxiety that comes with it has affected me deeply. The overwhelming fear often feels like a cloud over my thoughts, making me anxious about things I once handled with ease. There are moments when isolation seems like my only option because the unpredictability of my emotions, especially the uncontrollable tears, leaves me feeling vulnerable. Even when surrounded by loved ones, I sometimes feel alone in this battle. The physical and emotional changes have amplified feelings of uncertainty, impacting my sense of self and my daily routine. It's been difficult to find stability, and there are days when I feel as if I'm no longer in control." I am so sorry you're facing these challenges. You know, you mentioned here about feeling anxious about things that you once handled with ease. You know, I get that. I've just talked about that. You know, it really is how I felt too. And it can feel very isolating when you feel that no one can understand what you're going through, particularly, you know, when you may not even understand it yourself. You know, at the time, I didn't understand it, and I was a nutritionist and I had all this extra knowledge. And so, yes, the challenge with finding stability in the chaos is exhausting. And this is why it's the first thing that I teach in my Soulful Menopause Journey, which is a one-to-one program I offer. In the first phase of the Soulful Menopause Journey is a sacred gateway. And it's during this phase that I teach people how to be grounded and centered like a strongly rooted tree. So powerful, so that no matter how much the wind blows, no matter how much chaos is swirling around you, you know, buffeting your branches from side to side, your roots actually hold you stable and you remain centered. And that's a really powerful image that I want to leave you with, something that you can use, even if you just visualize yourself being that solid, powerful, healthy tree with your roots firmly into the earth. So use that image, and then use the free audio that I'm gifting with you today and the other techniques. And please let me know how you get on. I wish you so much love, and I just wish that you move through this as soon as possible. Okay. Another woman wrote to say, anxiety shows up as mood swings and overthinking. I felt I was the living embodiment of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I did not like myself. I cried, I raged, I wanted to punch everything. I wanted to hide in a hole and not deal with people. I wanted to yell, I wanted to scream. My mind rattles on and on, trying to analyze what I'm experiencing: shame, blame, indecisiveness, not good enough, etc. All of these negative mental attacks start taking their toll. Physically, my head will hurt, my muscles tense, my breath shortens, my digestion suffers. Yeah, I mean, oh, it's awful, isn't it, when you go through these mood swings? You're feeling fine 1 minute, just getting about, just doing your normal day. And then suddenly you're raging the next. And there's no warning, no reason for it. You just suddenly feel angry, like you say, wanting to yell or scream, or even suddenly feeling sad and crying for no reason whatsoever. And you can feel an underlying anxiety that actually causes these emotions in you. So you could have an underlying anxiety that you're not aware of, and then this causes these emotions. Or you can actually feel anxious for actually having these emotions and for feeling out of control. So just like I said earlier, it's that vicious cycle that you get caught up in. And yes, your digestion can suffer due to anxiety. And this is what happened to me. This is why I had a stomach ulcer, through to all the anxiety I was suffering. Because when your body is in fight or flight mode, when it's on high alert, it takes away the energy that's going towards your digestion and it moves it to your muscles so you can fight or run away. Now, there are some supplements that can actually help with this, help with anxiety, and I'm going to mention them later. So hopefully they will be really useful for you. So now I want to play you a voicemail from a lovely lady.
Hi Sally. So anxiety, it's been a permanent fixture in my life and shows up just about everywhere. Obviously there are difficult major life events that cause anxiety for everyone, but for me it seems to have shown up in everyday things. Am I saying the right things and not about to put my foot in it? Have I accidentally offended someone? What would people think about me if I say no to doing something? Should I be doing it? Do people think I'm weird? Am I a bad mother or friend? Am I good enough? What if something bad happens? I feel that I have to do everything at least twice just to alleviate some of the anxiety and worry that I'm not doing the right thing. And if anything bad happens, it's probably going to be my fault. My thoughts are just exhausting as my head just feels so busy all the time. They spin round and round, and I feel like I'm in a constant whirlpool of anxious thoughts, trying to stay afloat and not drown. It's like the anxious thoughts just take over the real me, and I think I'm quite laid back, but there's all this anxiety just pushing all that down. As well as being a big part of the menopause, with all the hormonal surges and worries this brings, anxiety can also be a major part of having neurodiverse conditions like ADHD. So it just seems to be compounded for me. I find it hard to organise myself and my time, and disorganisation and chaos are all around me, along with leaving things until the last minute, finding it difficult to deal with rejection. All this brings about even more anxiety and exhausting thought patterns. So for me, anxiety has been all-encompassing, and it can be exhausting just being awake at times. It just affects everything.
Thanks so much for this voicemail. It's really lovely to hear your voice and for other people to hear your voice too. I do want to say that I have responded to this woman personally. And there's a couple of things that I would like to pick up from what she has mentioned here. Firstly, there's the anxious thoughts. This is very common. One thing that you can do is whenever you have a negative or anxious thought, think of what the positive opposite would be and say that to yourself immediately afterwards. Just get used to doing that. Even if you don't believe it, even if you're not feeling it, just say it afterwards. And after a while, this will become a habit and it could really start to create quite a major change. Also, with regard to that, I would say that hypnotherapy is a good option. I'm going to have a chat about that very shortly. So, the other thing I want to pick up on is the ADHD that this lady is currently navigating her way through, along with menopause. If this is something that you can relate to, if this is something you have questions around, perhaps you have a story you would like to share, then please do get in touch with me and we can create another podcast episode around that. And now moving on to my chat with Monique about how anxiety has affected her. Thank you so much, Monique, with having this little chat with me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome, Sally.
I just wanted to ask what your experiences have been with anxiety during menopause.
When I first heard that word anxiety, I thought, well, no, not me. It's not, I don't have anxiety. And my menopause happened to have hit also during the height of COVID, like when 2020, and actually before lockdown and everything. I had a panic attack, but thought I was having a heart attack and went to the ER and nothing came up. And now in retrospect, I recognize it as that shift. It is because of the shift in the hormones and everything that's the chaos, as you so lovely put it, goes on during this time. So I experienced that panic attack. I had rage like nobody's business. And I am I thought I was a calm, peaceful person with it was not me, and I did not feel myself, and I didn't know what to do. I was working at the time with other women who had already been through menopause, but I didn't feel like they really supported what I was going through. And then when I mentioned to my husband, because I believe it was at that point that I learned even the word perimenopause. And he's like, you're too young for that. You're not old enough. You're not old enough. I'm like, I know, I don't understand this. I felt like I wasn't being seen, understood, and I didn't know how to be seen and understood and who to go to. And then through looking through podcasts, I found yours with your approach with soulful menopause, even though I went in going with nutrition because it was something, the words I could understand, but yet it was the soulful that really attracted me to a different approach to what at that point I didn't really recognize as anxiety and depression.
That's a really good point, because I think a lot of women don't recognize that actually what they're feeling, what they're experiencing is a part of menopause. And that's exactly what happened to me as well. I just felt like my whole life, my whole body was falling apart on me and I didn't know why. And you start looking to all sorts of other things and you just don't even think about it being menopause related.
Right.
What was going on in your mind when you had the anxiety? How was it making you think?
Physically, it felt like pressure inside of my skull, almost like I wanted to physically get out and break out of my skin, out of my skull. It wasn't a headache, but it was this sensation of pressure being built up inside that really had no outlet. My outlet would then happen. I at the time I was working in a kitchen with two other women, and we make prepared meals and sell them. And I would just like get so angry, but being the good little girl, I did not emote those anger. So I just bottled them in, but and just physically felt like I was this pressure cooker. And then one time I did end up just going in our little supply closet and I was just crying. I'm like, what the heck is this? I don't cry. Why am I in? And my boss, she's a sweetheart. She just held me. She just hugged me and she's like, it's okay. It's okay. Mm-hmm. At the same time that was going on, it was the 10-year anniversary of my mother's death. So there, that also came up. And I would just be like, I can't do this. This, people talk about brain fog. I'm not sure if that's what that was. To me, it physically felt like pressure, a pressure cooker building up with no outlet. I don't know. Physically, it was a pressure cooker. I know that, some of the other symptoms I had were, I just didn't feel good. My joints hurt. My body felt like crap. I felt I was so overweight. I was not eating well. And I knew this. So I was beating myself up saying, you know better how to eat. That voice inside is like, you know better how to take care of this body. It's like, yeah, I do, but I don't have the bandwidth for it. Your guidance through my process with it helped tremendously. I love your approach of the I may not be getting it right, but the three phases, the gate, that you explain beautifully, because that goes well with how I see things. And honestly, the best piece was just to normalize this, that it's not something to be ashamed of, to go in the closet and just kind of, oh, well, my time on this earth is done, so I may as well just be this old crone who, I guess, anxiety, it's just the way things are now. And that's just going to be. And I went to my gynecologist just for my regular checkup and mentioned it. And her only solution is I guess their antidepressant or anti-anxiety drug. She's like, you can have a very low dose and they help with menopause symptoms. And I'm like, would you take them? And she said no. She would try other options. And I didn't want to get locked down to a medicine that I would have to regulate and be very cautious of. I can't just quit this medicine if I wanted to. And for some women, I believe, yes, that is the answer. It was not and I still don't want to go that route. But yeah, the only solution, like actually even when I had that panic attack, it was like, here, have some anti-anxiety meds. I'm like, I got the prescription filled, but I never took them.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, they can be really useful for some women, because some women can really go to almost getting to suicide, thinking about committing suicide, or to the point where they just simply can't cope with life. And in that instance, I think that's a really great support and prevents probably women do actually, ending their life, or just really supports them being able to do life in its basic form sometimes. So yeah, it can have its place, but it is very much an individual thing for sure. And then ultimately, if you stop taking it, it's still present. So it's a bit like a sticking plaster instead of actually really getting down to the core of what's going on. Because yes, it's hormonally driven, but there are also loads of other things to consider with it. For
Mm-hmm.
example, what stresses are going on in your life at the moment? What is your diet like? How much alcohol are you drinking? How much caffeine are you taking? And what's coming up, like I say, in the sacred gateway, what is this chaos that's coming up for you to have a look at? Because it's all like these red flags, all these neon lights which are showing you the way and saying, look at this, look at this, look at this. And it's giving you that opportunity, like I talk about with my rocks and stones,
Right.
it's like, what are all of these things that are coming up for you to look at? Because those are undoubtedly, some of those things are going to be the things that are causing that anxiety, as well as what's going on physically. So Monique, you were mentioning about, because you sort of slightly hinted at maybe affected how you saw yourself or how you viewed yourself, what you thought about yourself.
I did not like myself. I I I felt probably the best word is disembodied.
Mm.
It was like there was me, I was present doing the things that I was scheduled to do and did them, but yet it wasn't me at my heart of who I think I am. I'm adaptable. I'm calm, and I was not that. And yet I think it's, as like you mentioned, stuff comes up during this time, and it's because maybe one thing was I was always such a happy go lucky person, and there's maybe a chance I suppressed something, and so now it's coming up. This goes also into some of the work you and I did with hypnotherapy, that what are those underlying things? What did we, at this age, I'm just turned 54, so I grew up through the 80s. What am I carrying that is really not mine? And so I saw women, we were meant to be quiet, we were meant to be well behaved, we were meant to be seen not heard type stuff. Now this is all subconscious. It's not I was consciously trying to be this person. I was just following the lead, not recognizing. So come menopause, and it's like, wait a second, this isn't who I am anymore. And I didn't want to share all of this with my husband because he is a doll, but I didn't want him to worry either. It's kind of like that suffer in silence type stuff. And what I've noticed, so biggest thing is that normalization, like this is normal. I don't know if I would have done it any differently. I think it is just, this is a passage. And there are times when it was worse. There are times when it's like, oh my God, I love this, because now in retrospect, because you and I worked together about 4 years ago. Now in retrospect, it's like, oh yeah, when you mentioned that spiritual thing, I've seen myself move more towards the cycles of nature. And I've always had it in the background, but now I feel like that my spirituality is nature's spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a better, like, for as we're talking, it's autumn, it's the leaves are falling, things are, it's both we are going into a quiet time, but you need a lot of wind to get those leaves off. There's a lot of flurry going on there, and I can feel myself right now during this time going through that flurry of activity in my mind, overthinking. And it's like, well, yeah, if I were a tree trying to shake off my leaves, I'd be like flurrying too. So I found a little sense of peace by looking outside my window and going, what's nature doing today?
Mm-hmm.
And recognizing I am a creature who lives on Earth, and Earth affects me.
Mm-hmm. You are nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, I believe, is one of the, as you call it through your process, is one of the gemstones that has come up. And another thing is I tend to process things alone. I prefer to, like, I don't want to bother anybody, but I feel myself reaching out more to to other, mainly women, the gift of being able to talk to others is the greatest thing. So whether it's just a girlfriend who is in a similar time, my mom passed, so I don't have my mother really to catch up with about how she went through this. My sister, her process was also different, but it also helped speaking with her. So I think more than anything, it's been talking with others. Be okay with saying, listen, I'm going through this. Do you know what this is? And to talk to people and to know that not everybody's ready to listen. Not everybody really wants or has the capacity to help, but at least speaking it out loud gets the words out there and normalizes it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad that you were able to get to that point of being able to vocalize that and get it out, which is really important. Well, thank you so much, Monique. I really appreciate your
you're welcome, Sally. It's been a pleasure.
So anxiety can affect us in many ways. And as we've heard, you may well be more aware of your heartbeat. You may feel it beating faster or irregularly, or you may even get chest pains. And a lot of menopausal women go to the ER thinking that they're having a heart attack, and it can be really scary. Now, these symptoms can also be due to other things other than anxiety. So please make sure you see your doctor if you're experiencing any heart symptoms at all, any palpitations or anything like that. Don't think to yourself, oh, well, this is menopause and this is what I've got to expect. I really want you to make sure that you see a doctor as soon as you can about it, just to rule out anything else. So other symptoms can be shaking and feeling breathless, as well as feeling hot or sweating, suddenly crying, feeling sick, feeling lightheaded or dizzy are other common symptoms. And to be honest, there are a lot of symptoms that go hand in hand with anxiety. So I'm just going to read you a few more, just in case there are some extra ones here that you can identify with. So difficulty concentrating, tense, painful muscles and clenching or grinding your teeth, along with the feeling that you can't relax. Difficulty sleeping, obsessive thoughts that stress you out, avoiding certain places or activities because you'll know you'll get anxious, feeling like crying for no reason at all. And for me, I just want to share one other thing that happened to me, which actually is a little bit hard to describe, but I would wake up in the night with my whole body feeling this physical anxiousness, like I just couldn't contain the anxiety inside my body. I mean, it was unbelievably uncomfortable. And I felt like I wanted to actually run out of my skin. And like the only thing that would help would be to run like crazy outside, which of course I really didn't want to do when I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning feeling like this. So that's something that happened to me. And then, of course, the panic attacks that I experienced when I was younger was very debilitating. And a lot of women can have the panic attacks at menopause. Luckily, as I said, I learned how to manage them and stop them from becoming out of control. And eventually they ceased to exist. But I want to describe them here for you in case you're feeling something like this, because I think sometimes when we say panic attacks, people can just think you get a little bit anxious or something, but it really is very scary. So for me, and like as with everybody, we can all experience things differently, but for me, a panic attack would start feeling like it was a visceral thing. It was like I could feel it in my body. But it would start feeling like this tidal wave of fear was rapidly coming towards me. It actually felt like a suffocating black wave of doom. And that is not understating it. It was this suffocating black wave of doom, and it just got stronger and stronger. And I would feel like this doom was just coming over me, and my heart would start racing. My fingers and toes would start tingling, and sometimes they would feel numb. And then I would start feeling dizzy and sick. I would start shaking. And then this was the most awful bit. I would have this feeling that felt at the time that I was about to die. It was as if I knew that in the next few minutes I would die. It was the most awful thing. Now, many years ago, when these panic attacks started, I actually found a book that was really helpful for me. Now, I'm really sorry, I can't remember what that book was now, but one technique I remember clearly from it, and it was something that really worked for me when a panic attack started coming. I would bang my hand on the table really hard and scream, literally scream, stop, really loudly. So bang my hand on the table and shout, stop, really loudly. I'm not going to do that because otherwise I might blast your eardrums out. But that technique really worked for me. Now, I do sort of looking back, I think it might be a bit harsh, and I think there are other more gentler ways of coming out of it. But I did want to share it because it was life-changing for me. That was the first thing that actually really worked for me. So I'm going to share it with you just in case you find that it helps you. But then, of course, the thing was I couldn't do that when I was out in public. But once I'd practiced it several times, I could imagine doing it when I was out in public. So it really did help me in so many ways. So there we are. That's something for you that may or may not work. I'm also going to share some other very powerful techniques in just a little bit. So please do stay tuned for that. So I really want to know what you can relate to here. How is anxiety affecting you? Please feel free to reach out to me. Just head to my website, soulfulmenopause.com. And yeah, please feel free to drop me a line. I'm always really happy to hear from you. This is my soul's work, and I'm here to support you however I can. So let's move on to a very brief explanation as to why this happens at menopause. And then we're going to move on to what you can do to relieve or completely eliminate your anxiety. And I do have something free for you, a lovely free resource that is going to be very useful for you. So when we're talking about anxiety, we need to talk about the adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands sit on top of your kidneys, and one of their roles is to produce your stress hormones so that when you're facing a threat to your life, you can either fight or run away. Now, the trouble is that modern life has got to the point where we can be exposed to so many different stresses every single day of the week. So instead of the few times when our ancestors needed stress hormones to run away from a wild animal that can kill them, we are needing those stress hormones all the time. Now, a lot of the time, we've been so conditioned to this way of life, we don't even realize that we're being stressed, such as when we either watch or listen to the news, when we scroll down the emails that we need to respond to, when we scroll through social media, when we write a long to-do list, when we watch violent films or heart-pounding dramas on TV. These things happen almost every day, and we don't even think about them as stress. So what's happening is that your adrenal glands are being stimulated probably several times every single day. And that's not to mention the other more major stressors that actually happen in life, such as separation or divorce or our failing health. And especially around menopause, we can start to deal with our parents' health issues. And actually, we have to start preparing for them to die. And we may go through that. Well, we will go through that process usually if they haven't died early. So it's a very stressful time, and we may well move home during this time. We may have financial worries. We may have to face a change of career. So your poor adrenal glands are having to deal with a huge amount of stresses that are happening every single day. And it's as if they're sitting at a work desk feeling swamped with mountains and mountains of paperwork to deal with. And you keep coming in and giving them more and more stuff to deal with. So, of course, they can become overwhelmed and exhausted. Now I want you to imagine that your adrenals can't even be seen at their desk anymore, as they're just completely buried with all the paperwork that they need to deal with. And then you enter menopause. Your adrenals now get an urgent red alert warning on their computer that your ovaries aren't producing estrogen and testosterone like they used to. And so your adrenals are now being asked to pick up the slack and produce more and more of these hormones themselves. And it's like they're saying, what? You mean I have to produce estrogen and testosterone along with dealing with all of these stressors all at the same time? Yep, come on, get on with it, adrenals. You've got this, you've got to do this, get on with it. Oh my word, your adrenals are just on this high alert. They're exhausted. This is too much. Mega overwhelm. Warning, warning, warning. And then anxiety is triggered. And this means that the more chronic stress you've experienced in your life, the more your adrenals are already exhausted by the time you reach menopause. Therefore, you're more likely to suffer from worse menopausal symptoms, especially anxiety. And that's also the case if you've suppressed stress by overeating, over-exercising, consuming too much alcohol, or by being mega busy all the time so that you've never actually created the space you need to relax. The way you've responded to stress in your past has a major impact on your menopausal symptoms. So, what can you do to help alleviate anxiety? Well, as anxiety is a stress response and your adrenals are dealing with that stress, plus the extra workload of menopause, the more that you can do to create time and space for peace and balance in your life, the better. And it doesn't have to take a long time either. So if you've got a very busy life, please keep listening, because I'm going to share a few very easy things that you can do as you go about your day. Plus, as I've said earlier, I'm gifting you with a free Letting Go of Anxiety audio that you can download from the show notes. Now, also, simply just knowing that anxiety is a symptom of menopause can help you to reduce the extra stress of wondering what the hell is wrong with you. It takes away that worry of trying to understand what's going on. So even just listening to this podcast may help you. I hope it does. Okay, so the two really simple techniques I've used that have been mega helpful to me. So let's start with breathing. Your breath can actually calm your nervous system down, tremendously so. Now, it may sound too simple to have any major effect, but it does, and it's really powerful, and it can take you out of a full-blown panic attack. All you need to remember is to breathe out longer than you breathe in. And it's about slowing your breathing down. So for example, maybe we can do this together now. Get to the point where you just want to breathe in. So breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold for a couple of seconds and breathe out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And do that as far as you can comfortably go. So this needs to be comfortable for you. And when you breathe out, just imagine like you're sinking into a sofa at the end of a really busy day and you're just letting go. So breathe in, hold, and then and actually doing that audible sigh is another really powerful signal to your nervous system that you're letting go and you're relaxing. So just try and do that 3 times and see how you feel. But it's really about slowing your breathing down and making that breath out longer than your breath in. The other thing that's really helped me a lot is actually humming. Humming actually stimulates your vagus nerve, which is a part of your parasympathetic nervous system. And this really helps you to relax. Now, also, you can think about it this way. You're not going to hum when you're in danger, right? So your brain thinks, oh, she's humming. She must be happy. She must be relaxed. Oh, okay, there's no need to go into fear and anxiety. All is well. I'll get on with my day. So not only does it stimulate the vagus nerve, but it gives that message to your brain that you are safe, that you are happy, you are relaxed. Play around with the vocal tones for you that really resonate in your body. For me, I found like the lower vocal tones really had a much more powerful effect on me. So I would just go, and I would do that, and wow, I can already feel that calmness coming over me. And once you do it several times, your body knows what you're doing, and it immediately, the more you do it, the quicker you will drop down into peace. So really try that. And then when you're in the car, put on some really lovely music and hum to that. You will notice it makes a massive difference. Okay, so the free audio recording I've created for you can really help you anytime that you need to stop the anxiety. You need to calm down and create some peace. It's a guided relaxation that actually combines a few different powerful techniques to calm your nervous system down. So it's going to be absolutely perfect for you if you're having an anxiety attack, or if any time that you may be feeling overwhelmed, or you feel that you can barely cope with things, you're mega stressed out. So you can download it onto your phone so you can have it whenever you need it. You'll find the link for that free relaxation in the show notes, and it's my gift to you. Now, in exchange, all I request is that I would love to hear how it works for you, because I love hearing from you. Like I've said before, this is my soul work. So if I hear from you that it's helped in any way, that brings me so much joy. And I feel my work's done. Great. So please do let me know how it works for you. Now, also as a nutritionist, I can't go without saying that if you're suffering from anxiety, please don't drink caffeine. Drinking caffeine from tea or coffee stimulates your adrenal glands to produce more stress hormones. So it's just going to make your symptoms worse and potentially cause you more health issues later on. So please stop drinking caffeine. Now, before you go into a complete meltdown around this, please know that it doesn't have to be forever. I stopped drinking caffeine when I was going through anxiety, and it helped me a great deal. And if you've been a really big drinker of caffeine, like you can't start your day without your cup of coffee, then please make sure that you slowly and gradually decrease the amount of caffeine that you have, because that will also prevent some horrible withdrawal effects, because you can get terrible headaches and things like that if you suddenly come off coffee cold turkey, especially if you're used to having quite a lot of it every day. So if you make your own coffee, just start reducing how much you have, or just reduce the strength of it. And that makes it a lot easier to gradually stop, because your body starts getting used to having less and less caffeine. Now, if you get your coffee from a coffee shop, then just ask for a single shot of coffee instead of a double shot. Now, you can also find some wonderful medicinal mushroom lattes that don't actually have any caffeine in them. They don't have any coffee in them. Some of them do, so please check that. But I love these medicinal mushroom lattes. I drink them every day, and they're a really great substitute for coffee, because you can still really get that lovely, warm, comforting feeling from drinking them. And they make a massive benefit to your health as well. It depends what type of mushroom you go for. Maybe that's actually going to be a chat for another podcast episode. I'm going to make a note of that now, because I think that would be really something very interesting to talk about, because a lot of them can help to balance out your hormones. A lot of them are really good for calming stress. For example, reishi is great at that. So yeah, let's talk about that for another podcast episode for sure. Now, there are many other things that you can do to decrease your anxiety, such as taking gentle exercise. High intensity activities can be too stressful for your body during menopause. Instead, choose a beautiful brisk walk in nature, or try yoga and Pilates, or even some gentle dancing. The other thing you can do is to decrease the amount of sugar that you eat and drink. You can see big differences in your health that way. Plus, of course, as an added bonus of this, is actually losing weight. So if you have any excess weight that you want to deal with, then start reducing the sugar that you eat and drink. So you've got a double whammy there. You're reducing your anxiety and reducing your weight. There are many different supplements that can actually help with anxiety, but there's no one supplement that's actually good for everyone, as we all have different health issues, different things going on with our bodies. There are some supplements that can bring some calm to your digestive system as well. And this is usually something that, as I've said before, we can suffer with when anxiety is present. But this is an individual thing that needs a lot of consideration. Being a holistic nutritionist, I would look into every aspect of you: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, because we're all unique, and therefore our paths back to health need to be a unique process as well. But saying that, there is one supplement that I usually recommend to everyone, and this is magnesium glycinate. Now, this is amazing for reducing anxiety and improving your sleep. However, you must please consult either a qualified nutritionist or a doctor first, because it could interfere with any medications you're taking or any health issues you may have. Plus, if you take too much, it can be dangerous. Now, I usually recommend 200 milligrams of magnesium glycinate at bedtime, but you must please take some medical advice first before actually ordering any. Okay, also, your anxiety may well stem from learnt behavior patterns that could well go back to your childhood. So this is really fascinating. We all have many different experiences during childhood. Some of us can go through a lot of trauma. Some of us can go through simply actually living in a really loving household where you're warm, you're fed, you're cared for, you receive presents, you have a really lovely upbringing. But something doesn't meet your needs as that child. And something from that time, maybe, for example, let's say you don't feel heard, you don't feel seen, you don't feel respected, or maybe you just didn't get as many hugs or love or attention as you wanted, or a sibling came along and took all the attention away from you for some reason or another. So this is really interesting because all of this can make an impact on how you experience menopause. So yeah, something that happened to you as a child can affect how you experience menopause. Now, I practice a form of hypnotherapy called RTT, Rapid Transformational Therapy, and this can bring a tremendous amount of relief to your anxiety. If you've never had hypnotherapy before, then first of all, let me bust a couple of myths for you. Firstly, you do not go into a trance. You simply feel relaxed. It's rather like me taking you into a beautiful guided meditation. We're actually speaking to each other during the whole session. You know who you are, you know where you are the whole time, and you can even get up and go to the loo in the middle of the session if you like. So you are not in a trance. The second myth, particularly if you've seen these sort of stage hypnotist the acts, you know, where people end up sort of like clucking like a chicken or whatever, you know, they feel like they don't have any control. They're going to be made to do something or made to change some way about themselves, that they don't have any control over that. That is not the case at all. You have full control, and nothing is done against your will. And it's a very safe therapy. In fact, it's a wonderfully empowering experience where you find out when your anxiety began. You find out why it began. And we go through a powerful healing process, clearing all of those old experiences and beliefs. And then we create new positive ones to replace them. It's a highly transformational experience. It really is amazing. It's very powerful. So this is another technique I use to help women stop that cycle of anxiety. I'm sure that I will be recording a podcast episode on RTT hypnotherapy because there's so much to share with you there, and it's fascinating, it's amazing, it's life-changing. However, in the meantime, please feel free to reach out to me for a chat if you're interested or if you have any questions. No obligations whatsoever. It would just be really lovely to have a chat with you about it if it's something that interests you. Okay, so if you're experiencing anxiety that's having a major effect on your life, please go to see your doctor. Like I mentioned in my chat with Monique, sometimes medication can be a really helpful support whilst you go through this transition. It could be something that actually gives you your life back. Please know that it's a strength to seek help. It's a strength to seek help. It is not a weakness. If you've enjoyed this episode, please do subscribe and share it so that we can all rise up together, helping one another to see menopause in a more empowering light. We are the generation that's bringing menopause out of the shadows and rising strong. We are playing our part in the empowerment of women. So please subscribe and share, and don't forget to download your free Letting Go of Anxiety audio recording. Go to the show notes right now. Thank you so much for listening. To find out more about how you can live a soulful menopause, please visit soulfulmenopause.com. I'm really looking forward to being with you again soon. Bye for now.